What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Josh, one of your Linode developer advocates, and I wanted to show you guys how to set up your own container streaming platform called Kasm Workspaces using Linode. So follow along with this video and I'll show you how to get Kasm Workspaces up and running in no time. Before we get started, I want to cover what exactly Kasm Workspaces is. Kasm Workspaces is a container streaming platform which allows your organization access to desktops and application resources directly from the browser. And your remote workspaces are customized with your applications, configurations, and security controls, providing your organization with the resources they need while still maintaining the same control as if they were in the office. And I know this would be an excellent solution for organizations while going through this pandemic. So the first thing you're going to need to do is set up a Linode account, which is very easy to do. If you don't have one set up yet, just check down in the description of this video for the link to get started. The sign up is 100% free, and you will also receive a $100 credit for the first 60 days after your account is created. And once your account is set up, this is the main dashboard that you will be greeted with. And at this point, you will need to go through the process of setting up your Linode. So let's walk through this process right fast of actually setting up a custom Linode. And the first thing you want to do is choose a distribution. Now for this demonstration, I'll use Ubuntu 20.04 as the server environment where I'll install Kasm Workspaces. So let's select that first, and then next you want to select the region. Now what you want to do is select the region closest to you. The region that's closest to me is Fremont, California, so we'll select that. But as stated, you want to select the closest region to you. Now the next step is to set up a Linode plan or select your Linode plan. And they have multiple different plans. They have dedicated CPUs with different plans based on the hardware that's available to the actual Linode that you're setting up. Now for this demonstration, I'll use a shared CPU. And one thing I want you guys to know about this application, Kasm, it's a little heavy on resources. So you have to have a little bit of RAM in order to run this application, because you'll run out of resources really quick once you have a lot of users actually connecting to this application. Now you can start with something small and then work your way up from there as needed. And for this demonstration, I'll select the Linode 4 gigabytes, and that comes with 2 CPUs, 80 gigabits of storage, as well as 4 gigabits of RAM, which is more than enough for this demonstration, especially since I'll only have one user for the demonstration to show you guys how to actually use the application once we get it installed. Now let's scroll down a little further, and they have the Linode labels, so you can change up the name of it. I'm gonna just leave it Ubuntu US West, and then you can also add tags to it. And one of the things you want to do is create your root password. Now I'll go down and type something in there that's easy to remember, because I'll delete this Linode after this demonstration, but you definitely want to pick a strong password at this step. And then there are other options here, like you can add SSH keys, which I definitely recommend once you get the server set up. But since this is just a demonstration, we won't worry about that. And just to show you guys, with Linode, they do have VLANs that you can set up, and as well as some other add-ons like backups and private IPs if you need it. Now let's go down and create our Linode and wait for this server to provision. Okay, so our Linode is running, and now we can go down and connect to it and set up Kasm. And the way I'll do this is by using the SSH connection. As you can see, they have a couple ways of accessing the server. You can launch the list console, or you can connect to it via SSH, and they have the command written out for you. But let's go on and switch over to our terminal so we can connect to this server via SSH and go through the install of Kasm. Now, basically all I did was copy the access, the SSH access command that they've written out for us. And all that is the IP address as well as the root account, you know, over SSH. So we can log in using that account. And this is the root password that we set up when we created the Linode. So let's type in that password now, and this will allow us to log into this server. And really the first thing you want to do is update the server, because a lot of times the image that's used doesn't have the most current updates of all the packages on the server. So you want to make sure you run that as soon as you log into the server. And since we're using the root account, we don't have to type sudo. We could just type apt and then update. And what I'm gonna do is type both of these commands in tandem. So once the first command runs, the second one will run, which will be the upgrade. So let's type apt upgrades. And then I'll add an option on the end of it, which is -y, and that will say yes to the answers that are asked while it's going through the install of the application. And I won't have you guys wait for these updates. I'll just come back when it actually finishes. Okay, so our updates are done on the server, and anytime you update this server, you want to make sure you reboot. And the command is simply reboot. And then all we have to do is type now after it and press enter, and that'll reboot the server. So I'll be back when it comes back. And one thing about Linode is super fast on the reboots. I'm not sure if you saw how long that took, but it didn't take long at all for the server to reboot. And as you can see, we don't have any more updates, so we are good to go. Let's go down and clear this screen and go through the install. And guys, don't be too intimidated by this application. It only requires 3 commands to install. The Kasm team has done a great job actually developing a script to go through the full install for you. And all you have to do is download the most current package and extract it using the tor command, and then running the install.sh script that's included within the archive. So the first thing we need to do is cd to the temp directory and press enter. And this is where we can download the most current package of Kasm. And let me switch over to my browser again so you guys can see where to get the package from. And all you have to do from the main page is go up to under resources and click downloads. And whenever you're working with the Linux terminal and you're using a command like wget, or if you're trying to download something to a server, the best command to use is wget. So all you have to do is copy the link address, or right click on the download button and copy the link address, and then paste that link address in the terminal behind the wget command, and we can download that archive. So let's switch back over to the terminal and type wget and paste that link in there and press enter, and that'll download the actual package. And as you can see, it's very small. Now the next thing we need to do is extract that archive, and I already have the command written out, but we'll be using the tor command -x and f, and press enter, and that'll extract that archive. And it doesn't take long with that because the archive is very small. Now the last and final command is simply bash, and then all we have to do is specify that install script, and which is under the Kasm release directory, which we just extracted, and then the install.sh, and press enter, and it will ask you to agree to the license agreement. So all we have to do is type y and press enter, and then it will go through the full install. And while this is going, I might as well talk about Kasm a little bit as far as how it actually works. It uses Docker for pretty much everything. So it's going to install Docker. That's one of the first tools that it will install, and container.io, and a whole bunch of dependencies. It'll install everything on your server, then go through and configure everything for you. And then the last step, it will present you with the Kasm UI login credentials. So I won't have you guys wait around for this because it's a automated install. So there is no user input once we pass that last step. So I'll be back when this actually completes. Okay, cool. So the installation is complete. And as you can see, the last step, it basically gives you its credentials or the credentials to the UI. As you can see, it creates two different accounts. It creates an admin account and a user account. And then also it shows you the database credentials, as well as the Redis credentials and the Kasm manager token. And what I would recommend is you copy all this to a text file and store it somewhere. That way you have your credentials, or put it in a password manager and secure it that way. That way, if you forget your passwords to anything, you'll always have a copy of them. So let's switch back over to my browser so we can get to Kasm on the web. Okay, so we're back at the browser, and what we need to do is basically go to the Kasm UI. So all we have to do is type in that IP address, and this is the way you actually get to the UI. Now, one thing about it, you have to type HTTPS and then ://, and that will get us to our Kasm server. And you'll see that the connection is not private because it's using an invalid cert at the moment. But you can obviously correct that later on. I just want to show you guys the actual UI and how to actually use it. But all we have to do is click down below and press proceed, and that'll get us to the main login page for the Kasm Workspaces. Now let's go down and log in, and that's why you want to copy your credentials from the terminal once it completes. That way you can just paste everything in there. And the first thing I want to do is log into the admin account just to show you guys the back end of the Kasm Workspaces so you can see some of the administrative things you can do. And I won't go through it all. I just wanted to give you guys a high overview. But the first page is simply a dashboard that basically gives you some information, statistics based on the usage of the server. And as you can see, you got your max active users, failed logins, successful logins, created sessions. So that'll track all your sessions. And if we look a little further down, current statistics, there are no statistics at the moment because no one is actually using the server. This is the first time. And then also the images. So, and this breaks out the usage of the types of images. And this is a good thing to actually have on there, so you can see what's not being used. Then you can obviously remove it and lock things down based on what it is. But they have a whole bunch of pre-installed images on here. And if you think about it, it's just basically a Docker image downloaded to the server. And then anyone can launch a session using those images based on their credentials. And if we click over here, this will show us the actual users. So we can click there. And as you can see, we only have those two user accounts that were created during the install, your admin and your user account. And you have some options to lock, disable accounts, you know, all that good stuff. And I'm sure you can delete the account, under here. So reset password, you know, view edits, all that information there. And then you can also set up groups, which is a great thing to actually do as far as administering any type of server with a bunch of users. You want to have groups with settings in it so you can manage a group of users and add those users to that group. And if we click down here, this is the agent. So currently there is a proxy running. Now if we go under managers, this is basically the host information. You got your zones, you have your staging, session staging, and you have casting, session casting, and then sessions. And this will populate as we start using the server. And we'll click on here to see images. These are all the images that are on the server. And as you can see, you have 28 pre-installed images on the server. So you got things like Brave, CentOS 7, Chrome. And this is dope once you actually start playing around with it. You'll see the benefit of actually using it once I get into the user account and show you guys the actual sessions that can be created. And I won't go through all the images. I'll go through them on the other once I log into the other account. Now they do have a developers tab, web filtering, so you can block out, certain websites and filter based on a policy. And then also you can go through and brand, this site and kind of make it your own. Now this is the community edition, is unlicensed, but you're free to use it. It's open source, so you're definitely free to actually use this application. Now if we go down into the settings, this just gives you some information on changing the settings of the website. And I won't go through all of this. I just kind of wanted to go through it just to show you guys the full settings. And then you have authentication, and I heard there is two-factor authentication, but they do have LDAP and SAML, so that's there as well. And then we can go to system information. That breaks all of it down for you. The system's information, logging, so it logs everything, and there are some pretty decent logs in here. I looked through it when I was testing this Kasm server out. I was having issues because it was running out of resources, and the logs definitely helped me troubleshoot and find out what the issue was. Now let's minimize that, and that's pretty much it on the menu. Now let's log in as the user right fast, and all we have to do is click our name up here, hit sign out, hit log out, and that'll log us out of the server. Boom. Now let's log in with that user account so I could show you guys launching a image, and this is the super cool part of the server. Once you get into the user portion and launch your images, and soon as you log in as a normal user, depending on the settings that are set up from the administrator account and the permissions, you'll have access to all the different workspaces that you want to use. And on the right hand side, it'll show you current apps that are running. So if you already opened up something, it'll show it over here if you go back to the main page while having that container still running. And as you can see, they have a whole bunch of different things, and it's broken up by categories. So you got all workspaces. This breaks it all out. Then you got your browsers. So that's super cool. I just wanted to show you based on the categories so you guys can see exactly what's there. So these are the different browsers. You got Brave, Chrome, Chromium, Edge, Firefox, Tor browser, which is super cool to actually see. And then if we go to the chat, there's Signal, Communications, Discord, Signal, Slack, Teams, Telegram, and Zoom. Desktops, so you have CentOS 7 and Ubuntu Bionic, so that's super cool. And that's one of the ones I'm gonna open up right fast so you guys can see. But development, games, and then also a search on the right hand side. But let's go back over to desktop. I want to go down and launch a CentOS session. That way you guys can actually see me actually open one of these things up from the browser. And note, this is all running from the browser. So this is, a full desktop environment, running within a container, obviously, but you have access to all these different applications. It's a full Linux install or container running on the system. Now you only have a minimal amount of applications on here, and you can obviously change these images up based on your needs for your organization, but you do have that option. Now I just wanted to show you guys the Kasm menu once you have something open up. So you do have, hide the toolbar right there, streaming quality, you could change that. There is some configurations you can do, return to workspaces, and then you can log out of the actual Kasm Workspaces, so that'll log you fully out. Now you can also delete this session, but I wanted to show you guys how to actually go back to workspaces so you can see. And as you can see, your session is still running, and it will continue to run until you actually delete it and remove it. Now you can click resume, that'll open it back up. It'll create, the session or open the session fully back up. Now let's say we want to get rid of this session. We could just click on the menu on the left and then hit delete session, and that will delete that CentOS session. And if you open up a new CentOS 7, it'll be a clean desktop environment, based on the image, the Docker image that's being used in the background. Now, one thing I forgot to show you guys in the back end, let's log out and go back to the admin account. And let's log into that admin account right fast. I gotta grab the password, so sorry about that. And log in. But one thing I forgot to show you guys was the images tab. I think I showed it to you, but I didn't show you that you can add images. So if you click there, you can add a Docker image. You're free to add a Docker image, you know, set up the cores, set up the memory, set up the name, you know, all that information there. Require GPU, you know, Docker registry, you know, all that information you could put there for the Docker image or the image you want people to be able to launch. And you can also restrict certain things. As you can see, restrict image to Docker network, restrict image to Kasm agent, restrict the image to deployment zone. So that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Kasm is an excellent application that can allow you to stream, you know, containers from the browser. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.